Every map of Gujarat, one of the 4 states of India bordering Pakistan on its western front, includes an area labelled as the Rann of Kutch, the Great and the Little. The Rann changes its look with the seasons. A vast landmass during the winters and the summers, and a huge lake in the monsoon. The Little Rann of Kutch, or LRK, is actually a special geological formation, unique in the entire world. The word Rann derives from the Sanskrit word Iri, meaning waste. The northern part of it, or the Greater Rann of Kutch, was at one time an extended shallow arm of the Arabian Sea. The Rann was an estuary, or a meeting place of the great Himalayan rivers and the Arabian Sea. It is believed that the sediments brought down by the mighty Himalayan rivers, Yamuna, Saraswati and Indus, formed the lands at the Rann through the process of silt deposition for thousands of years, until both the Indus and the Yamuna changed their courses. The freshwater flow has now stopped, but during the monsoon, the flow of water from the Gulf of Kutch transforms the LRK into a huge seasonal lake, which begins drying up by September and becomes a dry saline landmass by November. It is these natural characteristics of the Rann that make it a great natural supplier of subsoil brine. LRK uses both sea brine and subsoil brine as the source of salt, respectively known as marine and inland salt. And the people who have been extracting this salt for generations are known as Agariyas, a mix of many tribes that includes Hindus as well as Muslims. LRK is also the heartland of India's traditional salt production activities. Gujarat contributes more than 70% of India's total salt production, and 35 to 40% of that comes from here. It is estimated that the salt industry in Gujarat employs about 1 lakh people. About 40,000 of them are employed in LRK, which covers an area of more than 5,000 square kilometers. The rare geological transitions that the LRK undergoes every year forces the Agariyas to leave the Rann latest by May end, since the area gets completely flooded with seawater soon afterwards. Parts of the Rann are taken over for this period by the fishermen community known as Chamelias. This community has traditionally used the seasonal lake to earn its livelihood through fishing, including for prawns. During this time, Agariyas shift to their ancestral homes at the periphery of the Rann. Agariyas from Kharaghoda shift to the place called Patadi, about 120 kilometers from Ahmedabad. Patadi was one of the first towns in the country that the British connected with broad gauge train services more than 150 years ago, to facilitate easy transport of salt. While the Chamelias work in the Rann, the Agariyas recharge themselves, just like Mother Earth does. But the fires in the kitchen do not take a break, and the earnings of the Agariyas are never enough to last them these 4 months. So they have to look for petty jobs as farm laborers or whatever else they can get. Unfortunately, there is no mechanism in place to employ this extremely hard-working human resource gainfully. Most of the time, they just while away their lives waiting for the beginning of the next cycle of work. The LRK, their workplace for 8 months every year, has never been surveyed, as is the practice in other revenue areas in the country. Hence, it has only one survey number, 0. Though administratively managed by 4 collectors collectively, this vast landmass is an administrative puzzle. There is no clarity where the boundary of one district ends and that of the other begins. This milestone at the entry point towards the Kharaghoda area has been a mute witness to the strange life cycle of the Agariyas for an eternity, moving to the Rann in September-October and moving out in April-May. All through her more than 8-decade-old life, Jasuma has gone through this never-ending routine of starting life anew twice a year. Can you imagine moving home more than 160 times in one lifetime? Her mother and her grandmother did exactly that in their times. So did everyone from the family that she was married into nearly 6.5 decades ago. Is Amma happy and content? She doesn't know. All she knows is that soon it will be time to move to the Rann with whatever the family can take with them. But before that, the Agariya has to arrange for finances with a salt trader for the entire cycle of production. Very few Agariyas can finance their own production. The price of salt fluctuates wildly from year to year, and the Agariya is never sure whether his end crop will be good enough to compensate for the advances taken from the trader over the season. Sadly, most of the Agariyas remain in debt through most of their lives. On the eve of this family's departure to the Rann, the entire house can be seen scattered and in pieces. In the wilderness of the Rann, a motorcycle is the most precious asset and the most dependable friend. No Agariya family can do without one. Most of the elder Agariyas are engineers par excellence. Be it a motorcycle or a diesel pump or any other mechanical gadget, almost every one of them can rip it apart and reassemble it without a hitch. Working late in the evening, Anand Bhai has to ensure that this motorcycle is fixed by the morning. And with the morning arrives their transport to the Rann. The last week has been spent packing for the next 8 months. The luggage includes the basic equipment for making salt, as well as making a shack, besides all the basic necessities of life, including lots of fuel wood for the kitchen. Most of these articles have to be bought anew every year. The rest of their belongings will remain locked in for the next 8 months. The lorry loaded, the family atop the vehicle. A prayer is offered before the departure, hoping for another good season.
સાંભળજો સમજુ પ્રાણી અગરિયાની કરમ કહાણી સાંભળજો સમજુ પ્રાણી અગરિયાની કરમ કહાણી આખો શિયાળો ટાઢ બેઠે ને મહેનત કરે દિન રાત આખો શિયાળો ટાઢ બેઠે ને મહેનત કરે દિન રાત તડકો છાયો એ તો જુએ નહીં તડકો છાયો એ તો જુએ નહીં ગારામાં થઈ ગયો દિન સાંભળજો સમજુ પ્રાણી અગરિયાની કરમ કહાણી સાંભળજો સમજુ પ્રાણી અગરિયાની કરમ કહાણી.
Perhaps the most essential item for this journey to the Rann is water, since there would be no fresh water available in the Rann, and returning here for refills would be difficult and expensive. The villages just before you enter the Rann offer water channels for such families, like this one at Kharaghoda. This tank full of water will be their entire stock for the next 1 month or so, be it for drinking, food preparation, or their daily ablutions, irrespective of the number of family members. The first thing that the Agariyas do while beginning a new season is to build their dwellings and to dig out their heavy machinery that they have buried here at the end of the last season. They do this every year so that they don't have to carry it back and forth through the muddy and treacherous terrain. It saves them labor as well as money. A few of them leave behind an open drum at the end of the season, hoping that the rains might fill it up, thus giving them a bonus of water. The quality of water collected doesn't really matter, only the quantity does. This practice is not followed in the areas where the pans are not far from the villages and the land is at a higher elevation because it can dry up faster and the machinery can be carried easily. The machines left in the Rann may suffer a bit of wear and tear, but the benefits far outweigh the cost. As the entire area gets flooded in the monsoon, all the structures, including channels connecting the brine well to the condenser and crystallizer, etc., have to be reconstructed every year. Bore wells have to be dug to acquire brine, which is the raw material for making salt. But the accumulation of brine doesn't happen at the same spot every year. On top of that, its level has dipped to quite an extent in some places. Consequently, at times, several wells have to be dug before hitting brine, sometimes as many as 10. Satellite imaging techniques have now made it possible to detect underground resources in advance. But unfortunately, no one has bothered to make this facility available to the Agariyas. The digging of the well is full of its own perils. A man has to enter the pit to dig the well, and sometimes toxic gases may emerge from the well, resulting in injuries or even fatalities. The Agariyas have devised an ingenious method to detect the presence of toxic gases. They throw a piece of burning cloth in the well. If the fire extinguishes quickly, it denotes danger, but the process is not quite foolproof. In September 2017, at least 2 Agariya families lost their 3 young sons to toxic gases in spite of taking all precautions.
20-25 વર્ષથી નમક બનાવી છે અને આવી દુર્ઘટના સર્જાઈ છે. ये मशीन का वो पंप आता है, वो मेरे भाई बड़े भाई गड्ढे में उतारने गया था. फिर अचानक से वो जहरी गैस निकला. वो मेरे भाई गिर पड़ा था. फिर मेरे छोटे भाई ने मदद के लिए उतरा था, फिर वो भी गिर पड़ा. उसके बाद मेरे पड़ोसी में रहते हैं वो आए, वो भी मदद के लिए गए थे, वो भी गिर पड़े. और फिर अचानक से मेरे पिताजी बेभान हो गए.
आ केवी रीते निकली कुदरती बधु है बराबर. जो खबर हो कि आम गैस निकले तो ये छोकरा पड़े ज नहीं, ये छोकरा उतरत नहीं अंदर खबर हो तो.
There are many families in the LRK who have lost their loved ones under similar circumstances. Interestingly, every Agariya family keeps a dog and a few pigeons even in this wilderness. The pigeons make a nest inside the well, and their well-being assures the Agariya of the absence of toxic gases in the well. It takes about 3 days to dig the well, and the same time goes into sinking the bore into it, and takes around a week to make the condenser. The condenser and the crystallizer are basically the same thing, an empty field that has been modified for a particular use. The process begins almost simultaneously with the digging of the wells. Most often, Agariyas help each other in condenser making, thus minimizing the cash outflow. The hardening of the salt pan bottom, or pagli padavun, is almost an art. This process involves rhythmic and soft compressing of every inch of the crystallizer's bottom by feet. These are fine measured movements, and it has to be done a number of times till the required hardness is achieved. Precision engineering, some would say. My foot, the Agariya may assert literally. There are two other purposes of hardening the salt pan bottom. One is to make its bottom impermeable to prevent any loss of brine through percolation, and two, to prevent the soil from sticking to the feet while moving in the pan. Agariyas are often criticized for their backward technology and primitive existence. However, the perfection and the accuracy of judgment that the Agariyas are able to achieve solely based on their experiences and keen observation is incredible. This is followed by the construction of a channel to carry the brine from the well to the condenser. The channel could be as short as 20 feet or as long as a kilometer, depending on the availability of the brine. The longer channels may require booster pumps and may also cause losses through percolation and higher fuel costs. The condenser, locally known as Gamda, is part of the production unit where brine is allowed to concentrate up to 24 degrees biome by evaporation. The higher the degree of the brine, the lesser the space required for condensers, freeing more space for the crystallizer. The most important part of the production unit is the crystallizer, where the salt actually takes shape. Each Agariya normally has 4 to 6 patas of it, each pata being approximately 1 acre. The total area an Agariya generally operates in is about 10 acres. In local parlance, that makes them 10-acre Agariyas. The brine is now released into the crystallizer and left there for about 15 days. During this period, a layer of salt 1.5 to 3/4 of an inch thick is formed and the crystallizer bottom becomes very hard. It is necessary to provide a little slope to the crystallizer bed so that the brine flows smoothly in it. If it is too gentle, the smooth flow of the brine will be hampered. If it is too steep, it will push all the brine to one end, severely affecting the quality and quantity of the produce. The Agariya achieves the right gradient by his sheer judgment. No theodolite, no dumpy levels, no laboratory situation, no staffs for marking elevations. And yet, perfection every time, year after year. After the formation of hard salt layer at the bottom, the Agariya undertakes the ingenious task of forming and multiplying crystal seeds. Seed making is a critical part of crystal making. The Agariyas are ingenious enough to even use a local vegetation found in some parts at the periphery of the Rann known as zipta. Twigs of zipta are spread all over the crystallizer. The plant zipta is porous in nature. After 8 to 10 days of evaporation, fine salt crystals now completely cover the twigs. In the second stage, a metallic shear strip attached to the lower side of the powdy is used to scrape the earlier salt layer to get more seed crystals. Once the seeds are formed and are universally distributed in the crystallizer, dantala or raking and powdy or spade work is carried out in the crystallizer every alternate day till the end of the season. Raking simultaneously achieves 4 purposes. 1. It prevents formation of a salt layer. 2. The brine solution remains homogeneous so that the crystals remain uniform. 3. The evaporation rate and hence the rate of crystal enlargement increases. And 4. The crystals remain separated from each other and there is room for independent growth. In the absence of raking, they tend to coalesce. As the season draws to an end, heavier loads of enlarged crystals need to be pulled, and that too in the scorching heat. Both men and women do this work. The process is especially tough on women, since pulling of the dantala ankle deep in brine hours on end makes it akin to walking barefoot on burning coals. The Agariya couple usually wakes up before dawn to work in the cooler hours and take a rest when the sun is at its highest. The Agariyas owning pans deep inside the Rann rarely get to eat vegetables or pulses, often having only millet bread or the rotio. They also have no access to milk and always have black tea. The only thing available in abundance in this wilderness is perhaps the salt they make. Dead tired, trying to regain their energies for the next round in this simmering hot dusty afternoon, it's like being inside a burning furnace. But then, that's what the Agariya's life generally feels like. The children and the women seek shadow in these makeshift shelters, where the temperature touching 50 degrees is not unusual. Drinking water is eternally scarce in the Rann. The government tankers do supply water in the area, but just 3 tankers of water servicing an area of more than 2,000 square kilometers, with thousands of families spread all over. Rarely does a family get the supply twice in a month. Each family has to survive at least 20 days on 1,000 to 1,500 liters of water. This includes drinking, food and kitchen needs, and the daily ablutions for the entire family. Even under these circumstances, when the woman of the family noticed us at some distance doing some strange things, she sent this little angel to us with water and to ask if we would like to have some tea. These rations of water have to suffice even if the temperature reaches 50 degrees on some days, and even if the family is large. 2 baths in a month is a rare and craved for luxury for an Agariya woman.
ના તો વરે તો પાણી પીવાનું પતી જાય તો ના તો ઘર હાલે પાણી પીએ તો વગર હાલે ના હાલે તો ગામમાં જવું પડે હવે ના તો ના હોય કઈ હોય નહીં આય કણ અમારે શાકભાજી દૂધ છાશ કશું મળે નહીં અમારે.
The grace, the openness and the honesty in sharing her agony with outsiders like us is a measure of their innate simplicity. Basic toilet facilities are among the fundamental needs of human beings everywhere. But what do the Agariya women in the Rann do when nature calls? This self-explanatory photograph of the Agariya women carrying a cot and a sheet for cover depicts the agony that the majority of the Agariya women undergo every day.
This is not for 1 or 2 women. There are thousands of women and adolescent girls in the desert who are not having sanitation support. Now imagine a girl or a woman during her menstrual period, if she is not getting proper even water, how she is going to, I mean, what kind of situation she is going through every month, and that pain and that all kind of situation, she has to completely bear it silently, and everyone is silent on it.
When the British realized the value of the salt being produced in the Rann and the potential revenues they could earn from it, they not only laid a broad gauge line deep inside the desert, but also built a portable water supply channel for the Agariyas. The remains of this more than 150-year-old pipeline, now completely submerged in the Rann and left to rot for itself, can still be seen here alongside a series of abandoned water storage tanks and ruins of some majestic bungalows meant for the British officials who stayed here all through the season. And what about the present? We fail to get any details of any efforts ever made in post-independent India to revive the now defunct water channel or to check out how far the railway tracks can still be laid. Coming back to the salt production activities, at the end of the hard labor of 7 to 8 months, it's time to harvest the crop. It's collected and piled into small ridges within the crystallizer. Ridges are allowed to drain for 2 to 3 days and then the crop is lifted out. However, the uncertainties do not leave the Agariyas even after the production process is completed. As the Agariya prepares to harvest the salt, dust-laden winds, udan or wavar, may deposit dust on the pan or the just harvested salt. This is a huge nightmare for every Agariya, as the crop suffers in quality, resulting in a significant reduction in the price. An early arrival of wavar may force an Agariya to wind up the season before time, leading to a loss in production.
So how they have checked that? It's I mean, if you ask a common person or to even an engineer, how do you obstruct that wind and the clay particles that come with it? I am sure it's a hell of a job. But what they have done is again through a stages which they call, say for example, the final stage which they have evolved is around 20, 25, 30 years old, which is called culti in their language. It's a trench cum bund which they drill around their salt pans. So the whole silt is trapped. Now the physics will say the pressure and the vacuum and all those things will go, but they have purely from their common sense they have done that.
The Agariya displays a strange sagacity towards his produce, a sense of total and complete detachment. No matter how much sweat and blood they have put into it, once the produce is ready, they do not even look back at it. For an Agariya family, the time has come to again pack up and leave the Rann for the next 4 months or so. By now, the hut is in tatters. What is left behind at times is just a torn structure, an abandoned kitchen, their companion pigeon, a faithful dog, and a strange symbol of their existence, a fluttering flag, probably marking their spot for the next year. Howling for the family gone by, the faithful dog would be taken along in a day or two. The birds, of course, have wings and will find other shelters until the family is back after the monsoon. A defunct temple in this huge wilderness, a source of faith and inspiration, will hopefully welcome the family again in the next season. The trader has already taken over the operations by now. Shifting the material by trucks to the storage area or to the processing plant is his responsibility. Agariyas never get involved in transporting the produce. They are the producers of the crop, but the labor to move it is hired from other parts of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. Transportation is also a 24/7 job. The entire LRK resounds with trucks coming from all over and going into all directions, leaving behind huge waves of dusty clouds. The weight registered at such dharamkantas, the weighing machines, is the single most important input for the salt industry. The weight thus registered not only determines the money to be paid to the Agariya, but also to the laborers and the transporters. It also forms the basis for the annual production statistics in the Rann. The salt produced here usually costs the end user about 20 rupees a kilo. What the Agariya gets for it is somewhere between 20 to 25 paise per kilo.
મીઠું લગભગ હું જન્મ થયો ત્યાં જોઉં છું મીઠું જ પકવું અમારા પપ્પાને એટલે અમને મીઠું જ પકવું હું ને મારા ભાઈ બે પાટા કર્યા હતા અમે બે નોખા ગયા હતા અમારા પાટો કરવા મુહૂર્તમાં ગયા તાણે 10,000 રૂપિયા લીધા હતા અને ટ્રેક્ટરનું ભાડું ને બધું કરીને 15,000 રૂપિયા થઈ ગયા જીયા તાણે પછી શેઠ આપે 15 દાડે 3500 રૂપિયા આપે શેઠ 15 દાડે અને 15 દાડે 3500 રૂપિયા ખાવાના હાલે વચમાં કોઈ હાજર માંદા હોય ને તો બીજા જીવાની 1000-2000 માગી તો પણ આપે અને વચમાં પાછો અમારો ખર્ચો થાય અમે એન્જિન બગડે કોઈ મોટર બગડે એવો બધો ખર્ચો થાય એ પણ આપે શેઠ એમ કંઈ ટોટલ અમારો સેલે હિસાબ કર્યો એટલે જનરલ સેલે ખર્ચો 2 લાખથી 2.5 લાખ રૂપિયા થાય અને ભાવ આપે છે 19 રૂપિયા એટલે 19 રૂપિયા આપણે મેઠું વાણ અમારે 1100 ટન જેવું પડ્યું 1150 જેવું એટલે ઓની સિઝન જઈને આવ્યા એમાં કમસે કમ અત્યારે એટલો ખર્ચો માનતા 40,000 થી 35,000 રૂપિયા વધવાની આશા હોય એટલી.
Praveen got a price of only 19 paise per kilogram the previous season. He ended up having to pay his trader 5,000 rupees. As we said, the Agariya receives a price of 20 to 25 paise per kilo for all his back-breaking labor, while his produce is sold in the market at nearly 20 rupees per kilo. And it takes just about 15 to 20 minutes for his produce to make this 100-fold jump. It's a very simple sequence. Laborers load the truck, it is weighed and comes to the salt factory warehouse or sometimes straight to the plant for processing. This is where the clock starts. The material is poured into a pit. A conveyor belt takes it from here to a washing machine. It gets properly washed and crushed and comes back to another conveyor belt. The washed and crushed salt passes under the dripping drops of iodine and reaches another crusher mixer. A small mechanical process of crushing or mixing transforms it into iodized salt, a mandatory requirement for marking the salt as edible. How justified this requirement is still open for debate. When it gets loaded onto another conveyor belt, it is snow white in color, sparkling and ready to be packed, to be made available to millions of kitchens within the country and perhaps even abroad.
लेकिन ये डिपेंड करता है कि मार्केट रिसेशन और बूम पीरियड जो होता है उसके हिसाब से कंट्रोल होता है और एंड प्रोडक्ट जो कंज्यूमर को ज़्यादा मिलता है तो बिचौली काफ़ी ज़्यादा हो जाते हैं इसमें, इसीलिए वो ज़्यादा कॉस्टिंग हो जाती है. यहाँ इतना सस्ता, हम भी बहुत सस्ता बेचते हैं.
What does it mean for an Agariya?
जिंदगी तो हमारी कुतरा जैसी है सब. वो रोटी खा के सो जाना, वेला उठे धंधे में लाग जाना. वो कुतरा ही सारा होय. वो घर फरे એટલે इसको तो ખાવાનું તો મળી જાય ને. અમને કોણ આલે ને ખાવાનું? કામ ના કરી તો કોઈ ના આલે ને.
કાળી રાતનો માથે માંડવો કાળી રાતનો માથે માંડવો માર્ગ છે નો ધારા ગગનના તારા ગગનના તારા રે વણજારા ઓ વણજારા રે રણવગડાના વણજારા. સંકટ કેડી ખેડી તારે જાવું દૂર ને દેશ જડે નહીં તને દરિયે વિષામો તારો વિખરાયેલો વેશ તારી ખેપમાં તે બાંધ્યાતા તારી ખેપમાં તે બાંધ્યાતા પાપ પુણ્યના ભારા ગગનના તારા ગગનના તારા રે
This is a rather disturbing situation. Ironically, even the traders feel suffocated.
जैसे अभी का नमक है, अभी सितंबर में जो उसने सौदा करा है, उसको हम मार्च तक उसको हमें बेचना है, तो वो उस पर ब्याज लग जाता है, बैंक का चार्ज लग जाता है, नमक खुले में पड़ा रहता है, उस पर 10 से 15% हर साल बरसात में नमक धुल जाता है, और साल भर में अगर वो नमक नहीं बिक पाया किसी वजह से, रेलवे की दिक्कत से या व्यापार की दिक्कत से, तो वो दूसरे साल पड़ा रहता है, दूसरे साल उस पर फिर 10% की वॉशिंग आ जाती है, तो इस पर पड़े माल की कॉस्टिंग पे ओवरऑल खर्चे बढ़ जाते हैं, तो वो ट्रेडर की हालत उससे भी पतली हो जाती है।
Governments have changed, bureaucrats have observed, and scholars may have done studies on the heart-rending and cruel life pattern of the Agariyas, but all this has made no difference to the life of the Agariya. The bonded labor-like system of fixing the price of salt in advance happened during the British rule, and it continues now in an independent democratic country. All of us have heard of the famous Dandi Yatra that Mahatma Gandhi undertook. How many of us really understand its significance? The Dandi Yatra, also known as the Salt March or the Dandi Satyagraha, was an act of non-violent civil disobedience in colonial India to produce salt from the seawater in the coastal village of Dandi. The British had introduced a tax on salt production and also stopped its supply within the mainland. They forced the entire produce to be exported directly to foreign lands. Mahatma Gandhi started this march with 78 of his trusted volunteers. They walked 10 miles a day for 24 days, totaling a little more than 240 miles from the banks of the Sabarmati to this village, Dandi. By this time, more than 10,000 people had joined the Yatra. The march was the most significant organized challenge to the British regime. When Gandhi broke the salt laws at 6:30 a.m. on the 6th of April 1930, his message was loud and clear. He wanted the world's sympathy in this battle of right against might. With so much to learn from history, on the 23rd of April 1948, the brand new Indian government took immediate steps for increasing production and improving its reach across the country, supposedly keeping in view the interests of small salt producers who had become virtual laborers at the mercy of the British government till then.
ब्रिटिशर क्विट हो गए तो उसके बाद अपने इंडिया में सॉल्ट एंड एक्साइज डिपार्टमेंट यहाँ एग्जिस्टेंस में आया। तो ये जो उसकी एसेट्स थी, यहाँ उसका रेलवे ट्रैक था, उसका क्रिस्टल ब्रिज था और उसके जो मकान थे, ये सब उसके एसेट्स का वैल्यूएशन किया और 23 लाख रुपीस उसका वैल्यूएशन हुआ उस टाइम। 23 लाख रुपीस का उसका वैल्यूएशन हुआ। तो आज की तारीख में भी वो 23 लाख रुपीस जो थे उसका जो वैल्यूएशन था वो भारत के प्रेसिडेंट के नाम पे हिंदुस्तान सॉल्ट कंपनी का एग्जिस्टेंस हुआ।
The Jaipur-based Hindustan Salts Limited, the only central government public sector undertaking engaged in the manufacture of salt, earlier managed by the Salt Department of the then Government of India, took over the salt sources at Sambhar and Didwana in Rajasthan and Kharaghoda in Gujarat on the 12th of April 1958. The mission of Hindustan Salts Limited, as mentioned in their website, is to manufacture and distribute good quality edible and industrial salt and bromine at reasonable prices and to carry out, arrange such developments to maintain a lead, combating present and future challenges, and also to take suitable steps to reduce environmental pollution and to provide motivating working environments so as to provide welfare and safety for self-actualization of employees. The company controls more than 23,000 acres of land in the Kharaghoda area, and for decades it has not produced even a gram of salt. All our efforts to reach out to the higher officials of Hindustan Salts Limited failed miserably. The chairman and managing director sent us a curt message after persistent effort. We could meet him only if he had a business idea, Otherwise, he was not interested.
इतने साल सॉल्ट डिपार्टमेंट 1957 से हुआ, ठीक है। अब ये 2018 है, कितनी बार सॉल्ट कमिश्नर अगरिया के सामने जाके मीटिंग में बैठा, आप बोलो। उसका कुछ जयपुर होके भी रोल होता तो कुछ तो मीटिंग हुई होगी ना। इतने 1957 से आज 2018 तक में कितनी बार अगरिया को डायरेक्ट जाके मिला, या तो उसकी डायरी देखो, रूबरू अगरिया के पास कितनी बार गया।
In 1947, we were 330 million plus. By 2047, our population would have increased more than 5 times. The majority of our fellow citizens have no idea where and how salt is manufactured and what role the Agariya plays in making their food tasteful.
When population increased, the requirement of edible is also gone up. As well as the industry is concerned, major industries are soda ash and caustic soda. Both industries are also connected with the population. Major soda ash production is utilized in the caustic detergent and saponification, as well as glass industries. In modern times, you can see the major buildings, the wall are converted in the glass wall, and the most of the automobile industries, out of 100% of the car or any vehicle, around 70% of the body covered by the glass. So to look at the increased level of this chemical, ultimately salt having certain importance in the country and outside the country both. So that is why the welfare of the Agariyas are most important and critical.
The question is, why has no one ever bothered to make an effort to improve the lot of the Agariya, the person who makes the salt for us? And there are no answers.
And we saw there is completely a zero presence of government inside Rann. And this was not the situation for 1 or 2 days, but people were there for 8 months. So major part of their life goes into the desert. So how can this be accepted? And how can a collector of any of the 4 districts which are surrounding the LRK can sit idle?
However, a couple of NGOs have taken up cudgels on behalf of the Agariyas recently, and the most heartening aspect of it is that the Agariyas themselves are keenly participating in their activities.
तो ये अगर हम बहुत बारीकी से अगर देखें तो इसमें इनका एक ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज भी है, उनका खुद का एक साइंस भी है नमक बनाने का, और जो कुदरत के साथ बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से मिला हुआ है। यानी कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट उसमें इस प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम और वहाँ के इकोसिस्टम और बाकी इसी ज़मीन के ऊपर जो लोग डिपेंड है, चाहे वो फ्लैमिंगो हो, चाहे वो वाइल्ड एस हो, चाहे वो दूसरे छोटे मोटे प्राणी हो, और उसमें मछली पकती है तो ये मछली हो, तो ये सारे चीज़ों के साथ एक तालमेल अजीब सा आपको दिखेगा। और हमें लगा कि ये तो बहुत ही अच्छी चीज़ है, इन चीज़ों को तो हमें बाहर ला के दुनिया के सामने रखना पड़ेगा।
One of the most successful initiatives taken up by the Agariya Hit Rakshak Manch, a leading NGO working in the Rann, is setting up schools for Agariya kids called Rangshala program with no rigid or specific curriculum. The Agariya kids have turned out to be as adept at using technology as the city kids and enjoy handling the latest gadgets. The introduction of solar water pump systems has turned out to be another boon for the Agariyas. These panels have proved to be real game changers in the Agariyas' lives, literally filling them with light and cutting the brine extraction costs by as much as 60%.
लेकिन जब सोलर वो लोग खरीदते हैं अगरिया, तो पहले 3 साल तक उसको इम्पेक्ट ज़्यादा नहीं देखेगा। 3 साल के बाद वो उसको इम्पेक्ट दिखता है, पूरा इनकम घर में आती है। तो और सोलर पंप सिस्टम की जो कीमत है वो 2 लाख से 2.5 लाख जितनी है, लेकिन उसका लाइफ है वो भी 10-15 साल की है।
A subsidy of 80% of the total cost of solar panel systems is being given by the state government now. Such initiatives are of course welcome steps, but they are just a little drop in an ocean of drudgery and human sufferings that the Agariyas have been undergoing for countless generations. The Agariyas make very little money and often incur losses from making salt. That is why their 4 months outside the Rann are not a relief either. However, this is the time when most of the weddings take place and other family ceremonies are performed. Incidentally, Janmashtami, the Lord Krishna's birthday, is one festival that the Agariyas eagerly wait for. Probably because it occurs within the 4 months of forced sabbatical from the salt making. On such occasions, the Agariyas party as hard as they work. However, finding brides for an eligible Agariya boy has been getting increasingly difficult of late. The strenuous life an Agariya woman has to face in the Rann has become a matter of concern for many, and they hesitate to marry their daughters off within the community. Wedding expenses here are borne by the groom's side, and some families are willing to spend huge amounts of up to 4 lakhs on the wedding, but even that is no guarantee for finding suitable brides for their sons.
મેઠું કે પાટા કરે અહીંયા નહીં હાલવાનું તાકે હાટે અમારે તો પાછા હાટે પીટે માગે હાટા પીટે માગે તો દીકરી હોય ને આપણે તઈ કેવું કે અમારે હે દીકરી નકે તો આપણે હામાં હાટું કરી.
She is not the only helpless mother in the little Rann of Kutch to have quietly resigned to a fate she has no control over. They have withstood natural disasters, made stronger by the socio-economic uncertainties of their lives, and survival in the face of the toughest condition is an art that they have perfected remarkably well. But what bothers them most is the complete lack of concern about their very existence. One such extremely bothersome situation is the threat looming large on them for the last more than 4 decades now. On the 12th of January 1973, almost the entire LRK and the waterlands of surrounding villages were declared as a wild ass sanctuary. The Agariyas have since been under the threat of being uprooted from the area so that the worldwide endangered species of the wild ass can be protected.
वाइल्ड सेंचुरी जो इन लोगों ने 1972 में या 73 में डिक्लेयर की है, तो उसका फिजिकली सर्वे नहीं इन लोगों ने किया है. एक बात है, जो कोस्टल एरिया है सराउंडिंग लिटिल रन ऑफ कच्छ का जो कोस्टल एरिया है, वहाँ उसकी एग्जिस्टेंस है. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 5 किलोमीटर उसका जो बॉर्डर है उसका कोस्टल एरिया से उसके 5 किलोमीटर में उसकी एग्जिस्टेंस है. बाकी वाइल्ड एस कहीं नहीं मिला, आप देखने को नहीं कहीं मिलेगा आपको. तो इन लोगों ने टेबल पर बैठकर सारे एरिया को नोटिफाइड कर दिया है वाइल्ड एस सेंचुरी में.
These wild asses are also known as gudkars. Strangely, the docile gudkar is quite comfortable even with a large number of Agariyas around, but runs away at the first glimpse of an outsider. Perhaps the biggest tragedy of the Agariya community is that despite being the real producer for generations, it neither gets the benefits usually offered to such producers, like access to institutional credit, social security, insurance, etc., nor the advantages offered to a worker or a laborer, like fixed wages or medical facilities or any other benefits.
પાણી એક આવે અને એક દવા માટે દવાખાનું આવે તો બહુ અચ્છા લાગે. દવા માટે લોકો ઠેઠ ગામમાં જાય પછી કેટલું બધું બહુ દૂર ગામ રહે.
पाटड़ी से जो पाटड़ी हमारा ब्लॉक है, ब्लॉक से वो 70 किलोमीटर अगरिया मीठू नमक पकाने जाते हैं. और ये रात को ये डिलीवरी मैंने काफ़ी बार ये देखा है. शुरू में जो ये लेडीज़ की डिलीवरी होगी तो कोई सादा 108 पे रन में नहीं जाती थी, और ये गवर्नमेंट की भी आरोग्यवान पे नहीं जाते थे. तो मैंने काफ़ी बार ऐसे ज़्यादा बहनों में देखी है डिलीवरी के टाइम में वो ऑफ हो गई है.
Other than these basic humane issues, successive governments have also neglected potential economic gains, like making bromine and potash as byproducts. Even private parties have just begun to realize its potential.
If I give you an idea that the last year's potash requirement of India for 6 to 7 million tons. Means 60 to 70 lakh tons of potash is imported. The same potash will be able to produce using the leftover liquor after the separation of salt. But by the time salt producers are ending their season, they are so tired, they don't want to do anything and they want to go back to their places.
LRK now being a sanctuary, there's no commercial salt production allowed here. However, a number of large-scale mechanized industrial salt production units have come up at the mouth of the LRK near Malia, within the buffer zone of the sanctuary. In this type of production mechanism, saline water is stored in very wide ponds with walls as high as 12 to 15 feet. This interferes with the flushing of LRK after the monsoons and the inflow from the sea.
LRK के नमक को काफ़ी नेगेटिवली देखा गया है और इसके पीछे हमें जो वजह दिखती है वो एक ये भी दिखती है कि सरकार तो अनदेखी करेगी, लेकिन साल्ट जो है वो ऐसी कमोडिटी है जो हर इंसान गरीब से लेके अरबोंपति उसको हर रोज़ खाने के लिए चाहिए और ये लो कॉस्ट कमोडिटी है और उसमें आज भी 40% मार्केट एडिबल सॉल्ट का वो अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर के पास है। तो बड़े लोग जो आते हैं, ताकतवर लोग आते हैं, उनको ये 40% का हिस्सा चाहिए और ये 40% हिस्सा मार्केट शेयर वो तब मिल सकता है जब ये LRK जैसे इनलैंड सॉल्ट बनना वो कम हो या बंद हो।
Small, middle, big and large-scale industries have been set up all along the coast and now even in the greater Rann of Kutch too. Both big and large plants are fully mechanized and do not require agariyas in their production system.
ये पूरा हमारे 10 एकड़ है ना काम काज वो पूरा ख़त्म हो जाएगा क्योंकि बड़ी इंडस्ट्री और सब फैक्ट्री में नमक दे रहे हैं, हमारे तो खाने में जा रहा है। थोड़े बहुत ये GST सूत्रापाड़ आए वो ले रहे हैं हमारे पास।
However, as a community, the Agariyas are a resilient people, committed to carry on with the work they have been doing for the last 6 centuries or so, of continuing to make salt, irrespective of the hardships and the challenges confronting them. When will their lives change for the better is a moot question. The only thing certain is that come September, they will once again move to the Rann and start anew something that they have been doing for ages.
नमक तो बनता रहेगा, ज़्यादा नहीं बने तो कम अगरिया जी व्यापारी चले जाए अगरिया बंद था जाए।
Ignored by the system, brushed aside by life and hemmed in by his circumstances, the Agariya reminds one of an Urdu couplet. Sarapa zakham hu main ab, गले लगूं किसके, नमक में तरबतर डूबे यहाँ इंसान मिलते हैं।
वक्त तो ये वखा पाड़े, वक्त तो ये वखा पाड़े, पूरा मणे नहीं दाम अगरिया ना छू कोई लूसो, मननी बात एने कोई पूछो, अगरिया ना छू कोई लूछो, मननी बात एने कोई पूछो। महीनो पूरो मांड मांड थाए, महीनो पूरो मांड मांड थाए, पैसा नहीं थाए मोकान अगरिया ना आछू कोई लूसो, मननी बात एने कोई पूछो, अगरिया ना आछू कोई लूछो, मननी बात एने कोई पूछो।